Now, I know some of y'all are looking at this picture and this is clearly a mugshot in it of a woman, and you're probably looking at it saying Torian. Why is this not a Strag Tales? Because this just seems like it's going to be a Strag Tales video. Well, hear me out, because this is far from a Strag Tales. Trust and believe. As a matter of fact, I commend this woman for doing what she did. She took care of business. So this woman's name is Tityana Coppage or Coppage. She's 21 years old. She's from Kansas City, Missouri. And she basically, well, what happened was her teenage brother was murdered on January 10th of this year. And this story was posted 24 hours ago. And she tracked down her brother's killer and she killed that person. All within a week. She was like, forget waiting on your investigation. Forget all of this and that and the third, because we know how all of this stuff happens and it's going to drag out. So she took matters into her own hands and pulled a Liam Neeson from Taken. She tracked that person down and she killed them. So let me go ahead and get into this article. A 21-year-old Metro woman is charged with murder. The Jackson County prosecuting attorney says it was in retaliation for her 16-year-old brother's death. Tityana Coppage is charged with second-degree murder in armed criminal action. Her teenage brother, Jason Ugwa Jr., was murdered January 10th. His family said they believe he was shot while he was with two other teens walking home from the BP gas station at 40 Highway and Topping Avenue. His friends were able to get him back to the house where they called police. And just in that imagery alone, like hearing that part, it reminds me of Ricky from Boys in the Hood. Fox 4 spoke with KCPD the day after his murder about how gun violence is affecting families in the city. Violent crime is a plague to Kansas City right now, and we've got to address this, Captain Dave Jackson said. I've been here for about 22 years, and this is not the first tragic violence that has happened within a family. We have seen this before. It's tragic. It's terrible. Court documents say Ugwa's sister tried to find out who killed her brother and seek revenge. Police say on January 13th. So this is 3 days later. Her brother was murdered on January 10th and she found the killer on January 13th. Now, this, in my opinion, is how you do good investigative work. Because she knew if she left this up to the cops, to the feds, to the authorities, whatever you want to call them, they would still be out there trying to quote unquote find the killer. She found them in 3 days. That's why I said in some cases, you can't wait. Sometimes you're going to have to find out for yourself. But, you know, if you get to have a good ear to the streets, the streets be talking. She says she shot and killed Keith Lars in a parking lot. So I'm guessing Keith Lars is the person who killed her brother. At Thompson and Gladstone in the historic Northeast. Court documents detail how Coppage figured out the car involved in her brother's killing and came armed to meet Lars. Investigators believe Coppage and Lars exchanged gunfire in a parking lot behind a home. Witnesses saw a man put Lars into a car where he allegedly drove him to the intersection of Admiral and Virginia where he died. He was reportedly shot in the chest and leg. Once arrested, investigators were able to go through Coppage's phone, where they saw that after the shooting, she texted an alleged family member admitting to the act. They also identified a text message to her deceased brother's phone, letting him know she had taken action. Coppage is no stranger to loss. Her 9-year-old brother Jayton Ugwa and 8-year-old cousin Montel Ross were both killed at her home when she was 16. They were shot by someone outside of the house, and their murderer has not been brought to justice. Boom. There it is. Remember how I said they were taking too long? Read that part right there. Just read that part. She said she lost another brother, a younger brother, and a cousin. And they said the murderer was not brought to justice. She was like, bump this. I lost another sibling. Or another family member. I'm not waiting for them to find them. Now, mind you, it says that it doesn't specify when the other two were murdered. Who knows how long ago that was? And they said they still haven't been brought to justice. This person, this Keith Lars individual, killed her brother on January 10th of this year. She found them on January 13th just by knowing what their car looked like. And probably knew the license plate and figured out it was them and found and killed that person in 3 days. So what does that tell you? That shows you that, look, sometimes you're going to have to take matters into your own hands when it comes to loved ones. Because the way that they do these investigations, they have to do all this paperwork and all these documents, all this and all this and that. Bump that. This, what she did right here, is what you call street justice, which in the black community has seemed to become a lost art form, at least in the aspect of what it's supposed to be. She used street justice the way it's supposed to be used. So I can't even be mad at her. We know that they had to arrest her and they had to charge her. They probably didn't even want to do that. They're probably shocked and amazed that she was able to do their job better than they were. Jason was also home at the time and held his brother as he lay dying. Family members have said this deeply affected both Jason and Tityana. Kansas City Mayor Quentin Lucas spoke out about Jason's killing on January 12th on Facebook, saying Jason's life and all too early death shows us that we have to further aid families and close relations to victims of violence, and that we're not doing enough. Now, I read a little bit too far, but I have to go back to that previous part. It says Jason was also home at the time and held his brother as he lay dying. Talk about something full circled. Because when the brother that just recently got killed, they said his friends carried him back to the house where he laid and died. And when his other brother died or was killed, he was doing the same thing to that brother. That is strange. That is actually oddly weird. It's full circle. But that's crazy. Kansas City Mayor Quentin let me see. Okay, I read that part already. In light of Coppage's arrest, he said more needs to be done to help those dealing with gun violence. We also need to make sure that before someone is picking up that firearm to get justice as they see it, they know there's a different outlet. They know that there's someone to talk to. There's someone who cares about the pain that they and their family have experienced. Lucas said, that's the sort of work that needs to be done, need to do more in Kansas City. Bump that. Because had she had waited, she knew that it would have been the same situation as it was with her younger brother and her cousin, meaning they still haven't found the person who did it. So who was that said it? Let me go back and read that part. The mayor, is that the mayor? Quentin Lucas, you can take that little write up or that statement you said and shove it up your ass. Because far too often when cases like this happens, when it comes to black families or black people, they will drag their feet and their ass when it comes to these kinds of cases. But the minute someone implements their own justice, you want to give them a stern talking to, like their children. Bump that. She did what she felt had to be done, and they just mad because she did their job better than they did, and she's not even on the payroll. Not that she would want to be, because then she would have to act within the confines of this so-called protocol. Think about it. She found her brother's killer in less than a week. In 3 days, killed him. They still trying to find, allegedly, the killers of her younger brother, her other brother, and her cousin. And that happened what appears to be not so recent. You do the math. One of the outlets available to people and families struggling with gun violence is the Ad Hoc Group Against Crime. President Damon Daniel said experienced trauma like this family can deeply affect those involved. When you suffer from a traumatic event, particularly a violent event, it does something to you, Daniel said. It changes you, especially if you were a witness to it. So if you're a witness to a violent crime, you may not immediately notice the changes, but over time it festers itself. And for everyone, it manifests itself differently. Both Lucas and Daniel said more needs to be done for families in crisis. They look to a holistic approach of providing resources and therapy. However, Lucas said more needs to be done by both the city and police. Well, if y'all know more needs to be done, then why aren't you doing it? You keep saying more needs to be done. What that translates to me is you haven't done enough, or you're not trying to. And as a person who's the mayor of the city, what are you doing? Clearly not enough. If it's that much violence going on in your city, what are you doing besides sitting on your ass and collecting a check? Because that's what it sounds like you're doing to me. We have to come to a place of understanding that there are thousands of Missourians and Kansans in folks in our Kansas City metropolitan area who are suffering from this, Daniel said. This family is not alone. There are so many others that are out there that are crying out every day and whose moms or dads or brothers and sisters are aching with pain because they have not received justice. They don't have that sense of closure. Kansas City isn't unique in having that challenge, but I would hope that we can become unique in finding that solution, Lucas said. We need to actually look at these families that are impacted. We need to invest even more in victim advocates, and we need to invest more in making sure that we are not seeing that year after year retaliation. And there it is. And they just said right there what I was going to allude to at the end of this article. I still have one more piece to read, but I'm going to go ahead and mention that. They said we need to invest even more in victims advocates, and we need to invest more in making sure that we're not seeing that year after year retaliation. Basically what they're saying is they don't want a repeat of what this woman did, even though she was well within her right to do that on the behalf of her brother. They don't want that, but they want to drag investigations like with her other deceased family members, because those investigations cost money to get done. And what she did was cut their finances before they could even stretch the finances. That's basically what it is. She cut off the carrot. She cut off the dangling carrot of those funds from the investigation. It was, in my opinion, a money thing. And yes, investigations cost money, because I remember when I was a victim of identity theft on multiple occasions back when I was in college and coming out of college. Those investigations cost money. And then if you lose money from like identity theft or something like that, which I did because someone had took my identity to pay an AT&T bill. I'd never been an AT&T customer a day in my life. The money that I had to pay out for that investigation to get that stuff cleared up, I didn't get that money back. That's like lawyer fees. I did not get that money back. But she cut their finances when she did what she did. Because look, they still have not, like they said, they still haven't brought the other killers to justice who killed her cousin and her younger brother. The longer they keep those investigations open, the more they get paid for said investigations. Why do you think a lot of these people create GoFundMes to pay legal fees? That's all a part of it. Not just attorneys, but the investigations that has to be paid for that is wrapped up in that too. And she cut their income in 3 days, and they don't want that. I hope she gets released from prison. I do hope that. But let me read this last part. Oh, that last part is just a hotline number. I don't have to read that part, so I'm pretty much at the end. But kudos to her. Kudos to her. But see, they don't want her to be an example that says, hey, you know what? Maybe I can do the same thing too when someone has done me wrong. Not so much in the fact of something so petty, but like something like this. And you got to think, her doing this did not just stem from her the recent murder of her brother. This stemmed from the lack of care and urgency with her other two family members. And she refused to have that be a repeat. She knew that nothing would happen, so she took matters into her own hands. And the thing is, the reason why she got hit with second-degree murder and not first is because she did not intentionally track down this Keith Lars person who killed her brother. She just happened to see his car and see him. And she knew that it was him, and she acted upon it. She didn't go after him or look around for him, with the intent to say, okay, I'm going to go and look for him and I'm going to find him. Or she called him and said, I'm going to find you and I can kill you or anything like that. No, she just happened to see him. She just happened to find out where he was at. And it just, the stars aligned, whatever. And there you go. But I'm not even upset. I'm not even mad. I'm not. I hope that she has a good lawyer or a good attorney that can clear up all of this mess, and one who's very understanding to understand why she did what she did. But I'm going to be honest, they probably are going to give her some jail time. I'm just being realistic. They shouldn't, but I have a feeling that they probably are, unfortunately. But I do offer my condolences to this woman's family, because they went through a lot. I think she lost a younger cousin, both of her brothers, in almost the same fashion. She didn't get justice for the first two, but she got justice on her own with the second brother. And I don't know if she has any more siblings or whatever, but just imagine if she doesn't. That means she's the only child left. That's crazy. And then I'm sure her parents, they going through it because they lost both of their sons. But you know what? Like I said, I can't even be mad at her. I cannot be mad. I actually find this to be a breath of fresh air, because it's very rare you come across a story like this. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. Make sure if you haven't done so already to text the number pinned down in the comments below to receive notifications every time I upload a new video. And I will talk to you in the next one.